สวัสดีครับไม่เอานะครับได้ครับ Well, I've been in Thailand for 6 weeks now, and 4.5 of those weeks have been spent here in Khon Kaen. These are just some observations I've made here in the city of my first 6 weeks in Thailand. First, there are Westerners everywhere. I don't know why I didn't notice this the first week that I was in Khon Kaen, but there isn't a day that I'm not walking around the old town where I don't see foreigners, and most of them are Westerners. In my current apartment complex, signs are posted in Thai, English, and Chinese. Khon Kaen had a reputation for being an expat haven, and from experience, this went as far back as the Vietnam War era. My father worked just north of here in Udon Thani during the Vietnam War era, and he mentioned that there were many GIs that stayed after they served, and they chose to stay in Southeast Asia, and many of those chose to stay in Udon Thani and in Khon Kaen. Today, Westerners that I see tend to be working here. They appear to be teachers at the universities. Some of them appear to be digital nomads. There are several Australian retirees, and there is one confirmed medical tourist that I met, and this is because Khon Kaen has world-class surgeons at a fraction of the price of Western countries. There are several Americans and Australian and Europeans who just opt to have surgeries here. The greatest cluster of Westerners that I've seen seem to center around the Pullman Hotel area. This is also where the Innovation Center is. That's the sky rise with the glass skywalk that those who are daring or just, well, insane like to go up on and take photos from. I had to rent a car here recently for my driver's license test, and I'll make a separate video on that and that experience. And I noticed that there were quite a few Westerners walking around. As a matter of fact, there were very few local Thais hanging out in the restaurants and the bars here. They were almost all exclusively expats. I'll have a look into the history of this particular area. The surrounding area is also where you'll find the tallest skyrises. Khon Kaen doesn't have that many, but the ones that have popped up appear to be clustered around this area. I expect that more will be built, judging from the billboards posted at construction sites throughout the city. This is strictly anecdotal, but the ethnic makeup here seems to be noticeably different from that in Bangkok. There are very few Malay Thais with the curly hair and the chocolatey skin that I'm used to seeing in Bangkok. Of course, I lived in the Bang Kapi area, which had a higher percentage of Malay Thai Muslims than parts of Bangkok, but I've noticed that there are noticeable presence of ethnic Chinese and Vietnamese here, a lot more than I expected actually, but by far the highest percentage of Thais here are of Lao descent. One of the things I noticed is that the cost of living is higher than I expected it to be. Sure, you can find places for $100 to $200 a month, but you'll have to be okay with living like a Thai person. I have absolutely no problem with that. I actually am not that fancy a person when it comes to where I need to live. I just need a place where I can actually get sleep and it's not loud, and then I'm okay. I don't really even need air conditioning. I can handle living without air conditioning. So long as I can get work done, I'm fine. The problem is that I did not come alone. I'm actually escorting my mom and helping her get settled in. My mom is Thai, and she hasn't been living in Thailand in a long time, but my mom has what I shall say are acquired Western taste to some extent when it comes to standards of living. So we're not staying in a place that is the cheapest place that I could find, and trust me, I have no problems with that. Most Westerners that I know also would not be able to live in those kinds of places, because you're talking about a little hotel room that looks like a Motel 6 room that's been kind of neglected. You can find those everywhere here for like $100 a month, and living off of $100 a month is like crazy cheap. But if you want to live at the standard that you're used to living, then you're going to have to pay more. Certainly less than you would have to pay back home, but it is higher than I expected. You can expect rent at a modern place with all the amenities, such as gym, pool, Western kitchen, that kind of thing, to be around $500 to $1,200 US per month. Also, don't be fooled by the luxury condo advertisements, especially if the buildings are 5 years or fewer in age. Yes, fewer in age. I'm talking about the brand new buildings. These kinds of condos, those that cater to middle-class Westerners with quote-unquote luxury in their name or rich in their name, they have very low occupancy rates. And by low occupancy rates in Bangkok, I'm talking like 30%, 25% occupancy rates. Yes, that low. And this means less maintenance money is being collected, right? Which means cutting costs. I am staying in one of the quote-unquote nicer places in the old town here in Khon Kaen, and there is only one maintenance guy for the entire place. He fixes things and he also cleans and mops. It's not a large apartment complex, so it's a nice, clean place to live. But there are these super large buildings that you see in Bangkok that don't really have that much more staff keeping them going because of how low the occupancy rates are. This place definitely has not fallen into disarray, and the occupancy rate here seems to be around 50%. But I shudder to think what it might be like if the occupancy rate was 30% and located in Bangkok. This could also make condos a bad investment for those who want to flip their condos. Thais like new condos. They like new things. They like new shiny things. And unfortunately, those new condos and these new buildings that look really, really cool and really, really modern have thinner walls and more problems with noise. This causes the resale value to not be as high as some would hope. There are exceptions to all of this, but in general, prices are going up, and if the deal seems too good to be true, it just might be. If you are driving or walking by a prospective condo that you're interested in, or a skyrise that you like, do so around like 8 or 9 p.m. If most of the lights are off, this gives you some indication of the occupancy rate of that building. Although the sun sets here around 7 or 6 p.m., Thais tend to be active people and they go exercise or they go out and eat dinner, so they're not back until about 8 or 9 p.m. That's when you really know who's in that building. Next, get a room fan if you don't have one already. Even if you have AC, get a room fan. After a while, and for me, this was only a few weeks, you still feel that thick, humid, balmy, hot, agonizing, oppressive weather in Thailand, but air conditioning also starts to feel uncomfortable. For me, I dislike the feeling of anything below 24 degrees and even can't sleep in air conditioning if the airflow blows on me, even if it's as high as, say, 26 or 27 degrees. I'm talking Celsius here, Americans. But a fan allows me to feel relatively comfortable without feeling chilly. It takes a few weeks to adjust to this, but strangely, it happens to a lot of folks who live here. I mean, don't get me wrong, you still sweat like a whore in church, but your sensitivity to the cold becomes pretty acute. The room fan will also help cut down on electricity costs, and this is one way that condo owners can get you. Their electricity costs can be quite a bit higher than if you owned a house and you paid the electricity for yourself. I mean, I stayed in an older condo and my electricity costs ended up being half of what my rent costs were. Also, if you plan on driving in the kingdom and you have a driver's license from your home country, get an international driver's permit. All you need to do if you're in the United States is go to a AAA location, bring your driver's license, and pay $30. They last up to an entire year. You need these in order to drive in Thailand anyway. It's a good idea to get one before immigrating or leaving for Thailand if you plan to stay here. This will save you from what I'm going through right now, getting my driver's license. Unfortunately for me, I had to get my driver's license from scratch. There's a long story on that one. Not 100% my fault, but I will take responsibility for it anyways. Basically, I had my permanent driver's license sent to someone who has no memory of having received it. I'll just leave it at that. If you plan to have or get your driver's license from scratch, you need to score 90%. That's 45 correct out of 50 questions, and at least 5 of those questions are going to seem nonsensical to a native English speaker due to the Google Translate level of verbiage used in those questions. I failed my first attempt in the written test, and honestly, at least 3 of the questions were just due to my not studying enough. I'll talk more about this in a separate video. Being in Thailand is a pleasure, and I'm lucky to be here. I owe it to the kingdom to do what is required of me if I need to drive here. But several of the questions were just nonsensical word salad type questions, and I just ended up having to resort to rote memorization because you do have practice tests that have that same level of English, super low level, and you just memorize it. I mean, put in the work, you'll get it done. On my second attempt, I scored pretty high. So on my 6th week here, I've grown to really like Khon Kaen. I'm not sure if I don't miss Bangkok, honestly. I'm a big city boy, and Bangkok is just amazing. I know several of the streets and several of the neighborhoods like the back of my hand, and I miss so many markets that I used to go visit. Local markets, local places, local haunts. I really, really miss those. I'm not as familiar with Khon Kaen as I need to be. I'm also not as mobile here as I would like to be. That's going to change very soon, and that might actually help me get around and see more. And I'm not sure what I'll be doing for work or to make a living, but I have a few objectives that I need to get squared away before I can tackle those issues. And the fact that I can focus on other things for now places me in a very lucky position. The luckiest I've ever been in my entire life. I'm not rich, y'all. I didn't come from money, so I'm just really lucky right now and really have nothing to complain about. Yes, I'm depleting funds, and that's really, really scary, but I am in a lucky place. I have not a lot to complain about, especially having met people who have really been struggling in their lives over the last 2 years. So I'm blessed to be given this opportunity. I'm stressed, sure, but that's just who I am. But I'll just keep on marching on. Finally, I did buy a gimbal earlier. I'm going to try to figure out how to use this damn thing. It's for my camera, and I want to be able to use my camera for videos more often. Right now, I get really shaky cam when I'm using the actual camera itself, and I've resorted to using the iPhone for moving video images and stuff like that. The camera just obviously is going to take a lot better videos than the iPhone will. I just have to get rid of the shaky cam. I tried processing them through Final Cut Pro, but you can only do so much with shaky cam in Final Cut. Right now, the camera is wonderful for taking these amazing still shots, especially for the price that I paid for it. It's not that expensive a camera, but it takes it's a Canon, so it just takes really, really amazing shots. So once I figure out the gimbal, I will try to get more content up there and hopefully be more productive. Okay, that was my check-in. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. That would help me out a lot. Thank you so much, guys.